Tom Harris had always been a man dedicated to his restaurant, Mountain Bliss, nestled in the mountains of Denver, Colorado. He had invested everything he had into that place, turning it into a cozy refuge known for its breathtaking views and exceptional food. But lately, things hadn't been going well. Tom felt a heaviness in his heart, a sense that something was wrong. Tom's trusted chef, Ryan, was more than just an employee. He was a friend, someone Tom placed his complete trust in. However, things began to change. Ryan's behavior became elusive, his actions more shadowy. Tom tried to ignore his suspicions, convincing himself they were just the result of stress and business pressure. Ryan's betrayal hit Tom like a devastating blow. He had sabotaged the restaurant, compromising the quality of the dishes and spreading rumors among the customers, all to secure a position in a competing restaurant willing to pay him a higher salary. When Tom discovered the truth, his world crumbled. The pain of being betrayed by someone so close was almost unbearable, a knife through his heart. Seeing Mountain Bliss empty, without its usual smiling customers and the delicious aroma of freshly prepared food, was a harsh blow for Tom. He walked the restaurant's corridors, feeling lost and powerless. Every empty table seemed to mock his inability to keep his dream alive. The feeling of failure was overwhelming. With business declining and debts piling up, Tom was forced to make the painful decision to sell the property. Every signed paper, every visit from potential buyers, was a cruel reminder of his loss. He clung to hope of finding a way to save the restaurant, but the chances seemed increasingly remote. Ryan's betrayal not only affected the business, but also Tom's trust in people. He became more reserved, suspicious, questioning the loyalty of everyone around him. Loneliness became his constant companion, and the days seemed endless, filled with deep and relentless sadness. The breaking point came on a particularly cold night. Tom, sitting alone in the empty restaurant, looked at the old photographs on the walls, memories of the glory days when Mountain Bliss was full of life and laughter. Tears streamed down his face as he tried to understand where it all went wrong. The pain of loss was overwhelming, and he wondered if he would ever recover. Despite it all, deep in his heart, Tom knew he had to go on. The pain was intense, but there was a small flame of hope that refused to go out. He decided that even if he had to start from scratch, he would do it. Ryan's betrayal might have destroyed his restaurant, but it wouldn't destroy his spirit. With renewed determination, he promised himself that he would find a way to rebuild his life and Mountain Bliss. On a cold, rainy night, as he closed the restaurant for the last time, Tom spotted a trembling figure across the street. Approaching cautiously, he found a woman and a child, soaked and shivering. The look in the woman's eyes mirrored Tom's own pain, a mix of desperation and resignation. She introduced herself as Lisa, and the girl with her was Emma. They were homeless and seeking shelter from the storm. Despite his own suffering, Tom couldn't ignore their plight. He invited them into the restaurant, offering a warm place to dry off and something to eat. The gratitude in Lisa's eyes was immediate and heartfelt. She accepted hesitantly, worried about being a burden but unable to deny her daughter's needs. As he prepared a simple meal, Tom observed the interactions between Lisa and Emma. The girl, though tired and hungry, maintained a brave demeanor, smiling to cheer her mother. Lisa, in turn, tried to mask her pain and fear, but it was clear that life had been relentless. Witnessing the strong, loving bond between them, Tom felt a pang of something he hadn't felt in a long time: compassion. As the night progressed, Lisa shared her story with Tom. She had lost her job and, subsequently, their home. With no family nearby and no resources, they ended up on the streets. Every word carried immense weight, and Tom felt her pain as if it were his own. The hardships they had faced, the cold nights and days of hunger, resonated deeply within him, bringing forth empathy he thought he had lost. Tom offered Lisa and Emma the opportunity to stay in the closed restaurant, at least until they found a better solution. In return, he asked for a bit of help with cleaning and organizing. Lisa, visibly moved, agreed immediately. Emma, despite their situation, flashed a radiant smile that warmed Tom's heart. In the days that followed, Lisa proved to be a tireless worker. She cleaned, organized, and even helped in the kitchen. Emma, with her youthful energy, filled the empty restaurant with laughter and joy. Slowly, the melancholic atmosphere of Mountain Bliss began to change. Their presence brought a renewed sense of life, a lightness that Tom hadn't felt in a long time. As they worked together, Tom and Lisa began to share more of their lives. Lisa recounted stories from her childhood, happy moments that now seemed distant. Tom, in turn, opened up about Ryan's betrayal and the devastating impact it had. Their shared pain created an invisible bond between them, a mutual understanding that went beyond words. Amidst this new dynamic, Tom began to perceive something deeper. Lisa's gaze, once marked by pain, now held a glimmer of hope. She and Emma brought renewed purpose to his life. What started as a simple act of kindness was evolving into something more meaningful. And though the future was still uncertain, for the first time in a long while, Tom felt he wasn't alone in the struggle to rebuild his world. In the early days, Tom felt somewhat wary, still skeptical about fully trusting Lisa and Emma. He was cautious, always expecting something to go wrong. But as time passed, his concerns began to dissipate. Lisa showed unwavering dedication, working tirelessly to help with whatever was needed. Emma, with her contagious energy, brightened even the darkest corners of Mountain Bliss. One morning, Tom woke earlier than usual and found Lisa already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. He watched her for a few minutes, impressed by her determination and skill. Lisa noticed his presence and smiled, a smile that began to melt the barriers around Tom's heart. "A good morning," she said softly, and for the first time in a long while, he felt like he could truly have a good day. As they worked together, small conversations turned into long discussions about life, dreams, and the scars of the past. Lisa told Tom about her abusive ex-husband and how she had fought to protect Emma. Each story of pain and resilience brought them closer, forging a deep and sincere connection. In turn, Tom shared memories of his parents and how the restaurant was a tribute to them. These exchanges created an intimacy that both hadn't expected but welcomed wholeheartedly. One afternoon, while organizing the stockroom, Lisa found a box of old photographs from Mountain Bliss during its glory days. The photos depicted a vibrant restaurant, filled with happy customers and dedicated staff. Lisa looked at Tom, who stood beside her, with a look of understanding and determination. "We're going to bring this back," she said firmly, and for the first time, Tom believed it was possible. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Lisa still faced distrust from some of the old customers and employees who occasionally visited. They saw her as a stranger who had invaded their sacred space. Tom, realizing this, always made a point to defend her, showing his gratitude and trust in her. This steadfast support not only strengthened Lisa, but also solidified the alliance between them. One night, as they closed the restaurant, Lisa fell ill. Tom insisted she rest and take care of Emma. He took on all responsibilities, staying late to ensure everything was in order. When he entered Lisa and Emma's makeshift room, he saw Lisa asleep next to her daughter, exhausted but at peace. The sight deeply touched Tom, who sat quietly beside them, silently promising himself he would do everything in his power to protect and help them. Emma, with her childlike innocence, also began to change the dynamic between Tom and Lisa. She often asked Tom about the kitchen, fascinated by the stories and culinary secrets he shared. Emma became a bridge of tenderness between the adults, her pure love and joy breaking down any remaining barriers. As the days passed, the new routine brought a sense of normalcy that Tom found comforting. Lisa and Emma weren't just temporary guests, they had become integral parts of his life. And as he watched Lisa work with passion and dedication, Tom couldn't help but feel that something greater was forming. The pain of the past was still there, but with Lisa and Emma by his side, he began to see a brighter future, full of possibilities and perhaps, love. But life had a peculiar way of testing people's resilience. And while the bond between Tom, Lisa, and Emma was growing, they were still to face true challenges that would test their faith, hope, and love. On a cold, gray afternoon, while the restaurant was temporarily closed for maintenance, Tom and Lisa sat down for coffee. The conversation flowed naturally, but then Lisa began to speak about something she had never mentioned before: her ex-husband. Her eyes filled with pain as she recounted the years of abuse and fear she had endured. Tom felt a knot in his stomach hearing every grim detail, his heart aching for her and Emma. Lisa revealed that her ex-husband, now out of prison, was trying to find them. The fear in her eyes was palpable, and Tom felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him. He promised Lisa that he would do everything to ensure their safety. The determination in his voice brought a flicker of hope to Lisa's eyes, but fear still hung heavy in the air. In the following days, Tom took additional precautions. He installed new locks, reinforced the restaurant security, and began planning a scheme to keep them safe. However, tension ran high, and the fear of being found loomed over them like a dark cloud. Lisa tried to stay calm for Emma, but Tom saw panic in her eyes every time a stranger approached the restaurant. One night, while they were having dinner, they heard a loud knock on the door. Lisa's heart raced, and Tom rushed to see who it was. Upon opening the door, he was face to face with Ryan, the treacherous chef. He wore a regretful expression, but his presence ignited a rage in Tom that he thought he had overcome. Ryan pleaded for a second chance, saying his new job had been a disaster and he had nowhere else to go. Tom was about to send him away, but Lisa intervened. She knew what it was like to be desperate and out of options. Reluctantly, Tom agreed to give Ryan one last chance, but made it clear that there would be no more betrayals. The tension between them was palpable, but Lisa hoped this decision was the right one. Deep down, Tom didn't trust Ryan, but because of Lisa, he was willing to try. As they tried to rebuild the restaurant and their lives, Lisa received a call from an unknown number. Her hand trembled as she answered. It was her ex-husband. He had found out where they were. Panic washed over Lisa, and Tom saw the color drain from her face. He took her phone and, with a mix of anger and determination, threatened the man on the other end of the line, making it clear that he wouldn't allow him to hurt Lisa and Emma again. After the call, the atmosphere in the restaurant changed drastically. Tom, Lisa, and Emma lived in constant fear, looking over their shoulders at every turn. Tom tried to find a definitive solution, but desperation was evident in every failed attempt. The pressure began to take its toll, especially on Lisa, who struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy for Emma. Emma, perceptive despite her young age, noticed the tension and fear. She clung to Tom, seeking comfort and security. On a particularly difficult night, she asked Tom if they were going to be okay. With a lump in his throat and tears in his eyes, Tom hugged her and promised that he would do everything to protect them. The promise was sincere, but the uncertainty of the future weighed on him like a mountain. The struggle to keep the restaurant running while dealing with these fears and uncertainties became almost unbearable. Tom knew that something needed to change, but each step seemed harder than the last. Lisa's strength and resilience inspired him to keep going, but with each passing day, the danger seemed closer. They were in this battle together, but the challenges they faced were greater than they could have ever imagined. In the constant shadow of fear, Tom, Lisa, and Emma faced each day like a battle. The sense of imminent danger was oppressive, yet it also strengthened their bond. Tom refused to let terror paralyze them, and thus they began to revitalize Mountain Bliss with fierce determination. Despite her fear, Lisa displayed remarkable resilience, pouring her heart and soul into their work. The local community started to take notice of their efforts. Some old customers returned, curious to see the changes. Lisa, with her welcoming nature, won over everyone who walked in. Her dedication and the sparkle in her eyes when talking about the restaurant were infectious. Slowly, Mountain Bliss began to regain some of its former glory. The joy of seeing it revive brought a momentary relief to everyone. But Lisa's ex-husband's shadow still loomed. Every unexpected phone call made her heart race. Tom, ever vigilant, noticed the fear in her eyes and felt a powerless anger at not being able to eliminate the threat completely. He was more determined than ever to protect them, but the uncertainty of how weighed heavily on him. One afternoon, while Emma played in the restaurant, a strange man entered. He had a suspicious look, and Lisa immediately froze. Tom, sensing her panic, approached the man quickly, trying to discern his intentions. With a cold gaze, the man asked for Lisa. With his heart racing, Tom lied, saying she wasn't there and asked him to leave. The man left, but the terror in Lisa's eyes said it all. The presence of the unknown man brought back all the fears Lisa tried to suppress. She began to have constant nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night in panic. Tom, unsure of what else to do, simply held her, trying to offer as much comfort as possible. Seeing Lisa so vulnerable and scared broke his heart, and he vowed to himself that he would find a way to end that torment. Tom decided he needed help. He contacted an old friend, Jake, who was a police officer. He explained the situation and asked for guidance. Touched by the situation, Jake promised to help as much as he could, increasing surveillance around the restaurant and their temporary living situation. Jake's presence brought a small sense of security, but the fear still lurked. Meanwhile, Ryan, the traitorous chef, proved to be an unexpected resource. He seemed genuinely remorseful and was making efforts to help revitalize the restaurant. Tom still harbored suspicion, but Lisa saw something more in Ryan, a man trying to redeem his mistakes. This created additional tension between Tom and Lisa, but she remained steadfast in her belief that everyone deserves a second chance. During a quiet night, while Emma slept and Lisa and Tom worked side by side in the kitchen, there was a moment of silence laden with emotions. Tom stopped and looked deeply into Lisa's eyes. "We're going to get through this," he said with a conviction that he tried to convey more to himself than to her. Lisa, tears in her eyes, nodded and replied, "I know we will, because we're together." In that moment, amid tears and smiles, they both found renewed strength, ready to face any adversity that came their way. As days went by, Jake's presence, Tom's police friend, brought a temporary relief to Lisa and Emma. The restaurant, now vibrant with new customers and a renewed atmosphere, seemed like an oasis of hope amid the chaos. Lisa worked tirelessly, her thoughts oscillating between gratitude for the second chance and fear of what might happen next. However, the sense of security was fragile. Lisa still looked over her shoulder at every shadow, every unfamiliar face that entered the restaurant. Emma, despite her cheerfulness, began to show signs of stress. She would ask Tom about the unknown man who had approached them, her innocent eyes full of concern. Tom tried to reassure her, but the uncertainty hung in the air like a dense fog. One sunny morning, Lisa received a letter. Her heart froze when she saw the sender, her ex-husband. The content was brief and threatening, making it clear that he was determined to find her. Lisa hid the letter, trying to conceal the fear that consumed her inside. She didn't want to worry Tom or Emma more than they already were, but the reality was relentless. Tom noticed the change in Lisa immediately. He found her in the backyard garden, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Without saying a word, he embraced her, holding her tightly as if he could protect her from all harm. Lisa allowed herself to break down for a moment, her tears soaking Tom's shirt. He promised himself, once again, that he would do the impossible to keep her safe, no matter the cost. As the external pressure increased, the relationship between Tom and Lisa also evolved. They shared not only the burden of fear, but also moments of laughter and comfort. Conversations during meals became a refuge, a precious pause in the whirlwind of emotions. Tom admired Lisa's strength, her ability to smile even when her heart was heavy with worry. Ryan, the chef who once brought so much chaos into their lives, now proved to be an unexpected ally. He worked tirelessly in the kitchen, his dedication a sign of redemption. Lisa saw in him not just a talented cook, but someone trying to do the right thing. This created a subtle tension between her and Tom, but she insisted that everyone deserved a second chance. Tom, despite his reservations, gradually began to accept Ryan back into his life, recognizing that everyone makes mistakes. The imminent threat of Lisa's ex-husband hung over them like a dark shadow. Jake continued to discreetly monitor the perimeter, but Lisa knew it wasn't enough. She began to think of desperate solutions, contemplating whether they should simply leave and start over somewhere he couldn't find them. But the idea of fleeing seemed like a defeat, an abandonment of everything they had fought for. In the middle of the night, Lisa woke up to a noise outside. Her heart raced, adrenaline flooding her system. She silently woke Tom, pointing to the window. Together, they heard rapid footsteps fading away. Tom put on a coat and went outside, determined to confront the intruder. Lisa, on the verge of tears, watched from the window, wondering if this would be the moment that everything changed forever. Tom silently advanced through the backyard garden, his senses alert to any movement. Every shadowy bush seemed to conceal a potential threat. He reached the end of the garden and peered around, searching for any sign of the intruder. The night was quiet, only the wind whispering through the leaves of the trees. Tom clenched his fists, tension rising within him as he prepared for what might be lurking in the darkness. Suddenly, a quick movement to his left made him spin around. A figure was swiftly moving toward the back gate. Tom ran after him, his feet pounding on the frozen ground. He caught up to the intruder, grabbing him by the arm and spinning him around roughly. It was a tall man, with a wild look in his eyes. Tom immediately recognized Lisa's ex-husband. The two men locked eyes in a tense moment, a silent exchange of hostility and challenge. Lisa's ex-husband muttered something incoherent, his eyes shining with a mix of anger and determination. Tom felt a surge of adrenaline and fear coursing through his veins, but he maintained a steady demeanor. He knew he needed to stay calm, not just for himself, but for Lisa and Emma. "You're not welcome here," Tom said in a low, controlled voice, his hand gripping the man's arm firmly. Lisa's ex-husband let out a harsh laugh, trying to break free from Tom's grip. He spoke in a threatening tone, making references to punishments and revenge. Tom felt the hatred growing inside him, but he resisted the temptation to respond in kind. He was determined to resolve this without violence, if possible. Meanwhile, Lisa watched from the window, her hands trembling as she held the curtain. Her heart squeezed with each exchanged word outside. Emma, awakened by the noise, appeared beside her, eyes wide with fear. Lisa held her daughter close, trying to shield her from the true extent of the danger now at their doorstep. Tom tried to defuse the situation, suggesting to Lisa's ex-husband that he leave before things escalated further. He appealed to reason, arguing that everyone's lives were at stake. But the man was stubborn, his hatred and resentment blinding him to any rationality. He continued to threaten, his tone growing more aggressive by the second. Finally, Jake arrived running, his badge gleaming in the dim moonlight. He approached quickly, his expression serious as he assessed the situation. Tom and Jake worked together to contain Lisa's ex-husband, each move calculated to avoid a direct confrontation. Jake, with his authority as a police officer, managed to persuade the man to retreat, promising him legal consequences if he returned. With one last look filled with hatred toward Tom, Lisa's ex-husband finally backed away, disappearing into the darkness of the night. Tom breathed deeply, his tense body finally relaxing a bit. He turned to see Lisa and Emma at the window, their faces pale with gratitude and fear. He knew this battle was far from won, but for now, they had managed to ward off the immediate danger. Tom returned inside, where Lisa awaited him with open arms. She hugged him tightly, her tears wetting his shoulder. Emma ran to them, relief evident on her young face. In that embrace, they found a moment of peace and unity, a temporary ceasefire in the war against the fears that haunted them. They knew tomorrow was still uncertain, but in that moment, they had each other, and that was enough to keep them together and strong.